Hi, Dr. Rudy Kachmann. Thanks for watching our show. This is about preventing, stopping, reversing diabetes, mainly type 2, but I'll discuss type 1 a little bit also. And it's a fantastic opportunity, and I'd like you to listen carefully and do some other reading. I'll be holding up some other books I'd like you to look at. And if you're on, don't stop your diabetic medications unless your doctor is involved here. But I personally think you can get rid of type 2 diabetes about a month. I do it 90% of the time coaching my patients. And why would I, as a neurosurgeon all my life, want to do something like that? Well, I was looking at the patients all the time, and I felt they had not been properly tested. I do a lot of reading. There's 2,000 books in my basement, okay? So I do have a lot of knowledge. I gladly listen to another opinion, but you better be prepared. And I have all these books here with me to back me up. So it's not just me. It's in these books. What kind of turned me onto this subject a little bit is that a Joseph R. Kraft published a book, Diabetes Epidemic in You is the name of it. Should everyone be tested? And I'll tell you about that in a minute. Absolutely not. Only those concerned about their future. What a title. What a title. And I'm sorry to say that if you go to Amazon and try to order this book, they're not printing anymore, which I cannot believe. I had about 50 of these, and I gave them all away. This is my last copy, so there's no way that you're going to get my copy. But it's just excellent. It can be read in 2 or 3 days. I think what will happen, I'm going to look into it to see if I can't reprint it. People are allowed to reprint something. It's been so many years have gone by, and I may do that. And what he's pointing out is that I personally know that maybe 80% of the people in this country, especially this county, this state, are diabetic. Why does that worry me so much? There's medicine for that. Those medicines have a lot of side effects. Diabetes probably causes 20 heart diseases. Yes. Yes. Look at that. And if you want a copy of this, I'll provide it for you. Let's get a little bigger. And I'll review these a little bit from blindness, retinal disease, cataracts. Almost all dental disease is due to the bacteria living off the sugar. So who gets dental disease at a much higher rate? Diabetics, okay? Dementia, strokes, thyroid disease, liver transplants, renal transplants, skin disease, amputations, dislocations. I can go on and on, all due to diabetes. All 90% could be avoided. And Joseph Kraft, what he described really, and he studied in detail, he was a pathologist in Chicago, and he looked at the bottom line. He looked at the tissues, about over 1,000 cases, and then he studied the blood with fellow doctors, about many more, 14,000 cases, and he determined that early on you can diagnose diabetes 10 to 15 years before when we diagnose it now with fasting blood sugars, glucose tolerance test. You can run serum insulin. Insulin pushes the sugar into the cell, okay? And if you check for serum insulins, you can anticipate the path to diabetes 10 to 15 years at least before its time. Since not all, a lot of diabetics are overweight, it's a lot easier to lose 5 pounds or do it on a child so they're not getting the diseases that you get from diabetes. Avoid all those that you can. We should be checking children starting at age 3 or so with serum insulins, and we know they're on the path to diabetes, and especially type 2. There are many children around today who have type 2 diabetes. I remember that there's somewhere in my neighborhood, a young boy, and who lives in a home where they adopt a lot of people. I think they have 14 kids in the house. Yeah, I saw the opportunities walking down the street, and he was of a certain ethnic racial group which gets diabetes more commonly. So I gave him a book to read about this, to give to his mother, maybe. I don't know. I'm just a little pushy. Maybe I shouldn't have done that. But I saw yesterday, that house is about 7, 8 houses away. I saw him, and I see that he's gaining a lot of weight. Well, I guarantee you that he's a diabetic. Mm-hmm. His doctor is getting a fasting blood sugar, and that may be normal, so you're not diabetic. Believe me, if you're overweight, odds are 90% or higher you are diabetic. If they tell you you're not, you just haven't been tested right. They need to run the glucose tolerance test, and that's even normal. That doesn't prove it to me. Get a serum insulin, then we will know. Why am I so insistent? Because I can save you a lot of trouble. All these diseases are found in diabetics, and I don't want you to have them. I care about you. That's why I've been doing this show for years. It just amazes me that the Diabetic Association or Hospital Association haven't come to me and said, Rudy, we don't agree with you. Okay, let's have a discussion. Or join you, or would you interview us? Fine. I've been doing this about 13 years. Not one of them has ever come up to me. I failed to explain it. And I think part of the reason could be is that medicine has turned into such an industry since these diseases are making them a lot of money. Is that the reason? I'm just saying so. I've been to them. I've been to the hospitals. They're not interested in reading these books, taking me on, talking to me, or joining me in preventing these diseases. Mm-hmm. Now the medical school is joining the hospital campus. Mm-hmm. I'm just saying, come over here, sit at my table, we'll have a discussion. Dr. Kraft, Joseph Kraft, who wrote this book, is on YouTube. You can still see him there discussing this at age 92 or so. He's died since that time. I've known about this over 10 years. I've been on this path for a long period of time. But there's YouTube shows, and the other doctors are on there now. A very good one, too, is Jason Fung. I'll just hold this up. He is from Canada. He was a renal doctor, but he noticed all the people he was seeing with renal disease, they're all diabetics. So guess what? He decided to become a diabetic doctor or get an extra degree, and now he's a huge advocate. The name of this book, The Diabetes Code, Cancer Code, he has many great books, a good one to read about. He also writes about fasting. If you want to really get rid of your diabetes quickly, if you do some fasting, he talks about days or weeks. I say 16-8 is what I do. I eat 2 meals a day, 16 hours I don't eat, 8 hours I do eat. And the good thing, I'm 135 pounds every day, 39 years old for the 47th time, feel great, play pickleball, tap dance. I want you to be able to do that. My family doctor, who I taught this information to many years ago, didn't follow himself, and I don't think he's teaching it to his patients. He himself, I think, could have a problem with this. What I'm saying is, don't be closed-minded, be open-minded. I have a lot of books my downstairs in my basement are 50 books on diabetes, so I'm well read. Take me on about it, but you better be prepared. last week, and I want to share this with you, an Indian doctor came to see me who knew this stuff I've been speaking about for 15 years now. He knew that, but he's slowly gathering his forces, get 20 Indian doctors who are now meeting virtually, and they decided to speak to me because they know that I have the knowledge. They have a lot of it too, but in their home country in India, they are planning to take this information. They want me to take it to India. Because they know the government officials. These guys are so great, they even built a hospital in India. But they found out one hospital is not going to solve much of their problem. They need 3,000 hospitals. So they figure if they could put out the information, maybe through an iPhone, which I had suggested, but also through YouTube, and present it in a manner that they understand, because there's no way India will be able to pay for all the cost of the medical problems that will occur there. It is that prevalent there. So I'm meeting again Tuesday, 7:15. We're going to meet weekly. But so you see, they're motivated in this country. Our politicians, our drug companies, our hospitals, they're not motivated. And it's not going to change. Public health is not putting out the right information. The people that are dying from the virus, most of them are diabetics, because the diabetics don't have a metabolic. The viruses don't have a metabolic system, and they feed on the sugar of the diabetic cell. It's true. A virus is a non-living thing, yet Fauci, our government, our local public health, didn't tell the people, get rid of your diabetes, you probably won't die from the virus, because the virus likes sugar. 90% of the people that die in New York were diabetics. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So I'm just sharing information with you. So I think to read Kraft's book or Jason Fong's book is great. Look at the YouTube shows. I have Rita Kachmann YouTube. Take a half hour to get through all the shows, not to listen to them, just to see which ones I got. But I tell you another great book to read is by Tom Jelinek, Goodbye Pills and Needles, because most diabetics are indeed on pills and needles. He has an excellent book for you to read. And what he brings up, you'll know, to me, this is almost a Bible of diabetes, because he is a PhD, he got rid of his diabetes. Let me tell you something interesting. Let me first tell you the difference between type 1 and type 2 diabetes. In type 1, the pancreas dies, okay? And they all call it autoimmune disease. But let me tell you, it's not all where you attack your own immune system and they attack the pancreas and they kill the pancreas and you can't secrete insulin. But it turns out that some of this actually, it's not just autoimmunity. You don't know why that happened. Is that a lot of it, a couple of things, many things actually, that cause the death of the pancreas, one of which is milk. Yeah. Read Joe Keon's book, Whitewash, 1,000 scientific references. And one of the complications of drinking milk is type 1 diabetes. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Another one is a reaction to gluten. 10% of the people have gluten sensitivity. You can run a test for that. And gluten will attack the pancreas and kills it. Now you got to be on insulin. Okay. Now the type 2 diabetic is the blood sugar goes up. They can be thin. The majority of them are overweight. They're being overweight as a result of diabetes. It's not the cause of the diabetes, okay? So they give people insulin, and the insulin stuffs the sugar into the cell, and the cell goes like that. That's the reason when you look at where they were injected with their insulin, there's a little bump there. That's because the cell's full of sugar. The insulin's hanging out there, and just boom. And the diabetics, you notice most of them gain weight. The weight is not the cause of the diabetes. It's a result of the diabetes. And the milk, let me give you an example, a similar type thing, really. When a calf is born, they inject it with a growth hormone made by Eli Lilly. They sold the company since because they didn't want to be known for that. But for many years, it was a Eli Lilly company. They even had a different name to the sub-company, and then now it's gone, a couple of years ago, I think. And you're taking the growth hormone, and the calf grows very quickly, produces 10 times the amount of milk. They put on pesticides, herbicides on top of that, and then you give your kid the milk. Does that make sense to you? Read this book. If you drink milk again, you're not reading right. And to give it to your child, you kind of wonder about that. Again, let me not decide for you. Do some reading. Joe Keon, whitewash. Well, insulin is similar. Insulin goes in there, and the cell goes like that. And after a few years, you develop insulin resistance, and then you need to take more insulin, eventually go like that. That's the people use insulin. So does that make sense to you? We can get rid of it about a month by eating the right way of eating, which actually the theory of what causes diabetes is changing. Yeah, you know, you hear the word keto. Ketones are small molecules of fatty energy. Your brain can even run on it. And if you're not eating sugar, remember I said low sugar, your insulin level goes down, your blood sugar level goes down, and that opens up the fat cells. The fat cells go to the liver, make ketones, and your brain works on it. You feel very energetic, and you're losing weight. And you're losing weight. So and to even double the speed of getting rid of your diabetes, if you do the 16-8 fasting, or as Dr. Fong might say, skip a day or 2 days. Don't make it complicated. Keep it simple. Time-regulated eating. 6 to 8, what I write. To make it simple, I do it 2 meals a day. I'm never hungry. It takes a week or two to get used to it, okay? But don't forget, tell your doctor what you're doing, because you're getting rid of your diabetes. To inject a lot of insulin wouldn't be a good idea. Or even to take metformin, for example. Now, I read in Dr. Fong's book, too, you can pull it up there, that metformin only drops the sugar a little bit, and you will never get rid of your diabetes on the drug. You want to get rid of your diabetes? Start eating right. Start eating right gets rid of your diabetes, and it's not hard. I have found if you do the 16-8, that it almost doesn't matter what food you're eating. If you're diabetic, I think you'd be a little more careful. At 2 meals a day, 135 pounds every day, feel very energetic. I play pickleball in the morning or take a walk, and I'll eat around 11 or 12, around 6 or 7, and I'm not rigid about it. Can you have a dessert? Well, if yes, you can. Not necessarily diabetic, but myself, I have one now and then. It never seems to affect my weight. I seem to have, maybe I weighed 10 times more years ago, maybe 15 pounds, but all that came to a certain level. And now I do time-regulated eating, and I eat a piece of junk food now and then. And the weight's still the same because my body needs that energy, okay? But my appetite is really down. So I think this time-regulated eating can really speed things up, and is an easy way. And let's face it, I mean, I think some of the problem why people don't want to change the baseline, I think, could be that they're addicted to sugar. Some people think sugar is more addictive than cocaine. Mm-hmm. Remember Coca-Cola? The original, they used to put cocaine in Cokes, 1890s or so. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So sugary drinks are more likely our biggest cause of diabetes, but a lot of people have stopped that. So the first thing I'd say, don't drink sugary drinks and read the labels. Now even some of the non-diet things I'd be careful about, because they may have added sucralose or things like that. They have no calories in them, but it changes your brain, it changes your gut bacteria, and these guys are saying, where's the sugary food? So it continues your addiction. So I would say forget about even sucralose, those things, because they make you want the next thing to have some sugar in it. And you can get rid of type 2 diabetes like that. Type 1, once your pancreas is totally dead. But what Dr. Fong describes in one of his chapters, which is interesting, even if you've been taking insulin for 30 years or so, you start eating right, exercising a little bit, you can eventually stop your insulin totally. Your pancreas wakes up, the fat is being removed, and it starts secreting insulin again. You wouldn't believe that, but it's right in his book. He studied it. So we can't guarantee it, but I'd say 75-80% chance that you'll be off insulin totally. The reason you want to be off insulin, it doesn't just push sugar in the cell. It stiffens your artery, increased rates of cancer and vascular disease, increased rates of renal disease. It's a drug you want to try to get off if you possibly can. Besides, it has to be injected. I've seen kids with insulin pumps, and they have pumps in them now. The blood sugar goes up, and the pump increases the amount of insulin. That's fine, but the darn trouble is they are gaining weight because they don't select their food at all, and they're gaining weight all the time, and they may live an extra 10 years or so they normally would have, but they're going to live to be 100 because they get rid of all their insulin, and they're now eating a lot better. So if you're way overweight, and we're not being critical here at all, there's an excellent book written by Susan Ryan. Let me hold it up, book. Susan Ryan. Okay? What I like about this book is the first 30 pages or so, she describes diabetes and what it's all about, and she has the good fats and the bad fats and the good carbs, the bad carbs. It's all carefully written out. And then she has her recipes, and she has pictures of them, and to get you to eat right. It's not about food doesn't look good, taste good, or smell good. Yeah, it's very delicious. And the recipes are all in there. If you're 150 pounds overweight, and that's what she was, and she lost the pounds, just eat out of this book for a few months, and you won't have diabetes. You won't have to spend the money on the drugs. You won't die young. And on every recipe, she's written down how many calories, how many fat calories, how many proteins, how many carbs, how much fiber, how many net carbs. It's all right there. And if you were to add fasting to it, and she has a little discussion about fasting there, and she's not that pushy about it, but if you were to add fasting to it, your diabetes would be gone, nothing flat 90% of the time. If you're And even if you're not overweight, to follow that in the recipes is fine. It's a great book. If you just take these 4 and kind of keep them at home in your library, read them. I like you to do a little bit of reading. I want you to be knowledgeable. And again, let your doctor know what you're doing. So if your blood sugars are dropping, that you're not injecting too much insulin. I also suggest you get a glucose meter, a Dexcom. There are a number of those out there, but I like the Dexcom G6 because it keeps track of everything, and all you got to do is take your phone, go like that, and you get your blood sugar. An hour or 2 afterwards, and you can say, oh man, my blood sugar is 400, I'm not going to eat that again. So it's a teaching tool. I think every diabetic actually should have that, so they always know what they got. Just go like this little thing that paste on there about the size of a quarter. It tells you your blood sugar and keeps track of it. Keeps it. My dad had a deli in New York, so I ate bad food. Yeah. I drank milk. I had acne everywhere. It's due to milk. So I've changed too, but I'm open-minded, okay? I used to think eating 80% vegetable type diet, like my friend Dr. Furman published many books. Eat 80% vegetables and you'll be fine. Well, that's fine. You're better, but I tell you, to eat good fats, there's a lot of sugar in that many vegetables. Okay, if you do the keto time-regulated eating, you get rid of your diabetes a lot quicker, and I think a lot better, and you'll be in keto metabolism. You're very energetic. You don't have much appetite, which represents me. You get rid of diabetes really quick. So because in the past, I probably didn't eat the best. I had my blood work done recently. A lot of that was done by Quest Diagnostics. But I go to any lab that's on DuPont. They'll do, if you don't want to necessarily go through your family doctor, which is fine, but he may say, oh, you don't need the insulin test. But the trouble is, the reason he'll say that, he knows nothing about it. It's not something they teach in the medical school, okay? And but a lot of people, Mark Hyman, a lot of people are writing books about it. This is not just my opinion, but these are my laboratory tests. Remember, I said I'm 39 for the 47th time. My blood sugar was 89, okay? HSCRP is the best test to figure out inflammation in your body. That's a very good test. That was 0.7. Anyway, my HbA1c level was 5.4. So obviously I don't have diabetes, but I want to prove to you that I can do it. And I did do it. If you want a copy of these tests, I'll give it to you. But I think it's important that I exemplify what I'm teaching you. So let's maybe summarize this a little bit. I don't want you to accept diabetes. I don't want you to accept it. The medical industry wants you to accept it. They may operate your heart. They may amputate your legs. They may treat you for Alzheimer's disease. All things are preventable. So, and read my book, Rudy's War. I've declared war on diabetes. I want to get rid of it. Join me in this fight. My bullets are information. Thanks for listening. I'll be on here again in 2 weeks. It'll all be on YouTube. Why did I do this? I'm a doctor. I care about you. I love you, to be honestly. I love you. See you later. I'll be playing pickleball tomorrow and tap dance on Monday. Bye.